Okay, now for some fun stuff. Your first experiment in improvisation here. And it looks probably a little bit more complicated than you're willing to dive into when you see all these flats. But basically, we're dealing with just the black keys on the keyboard. These are enharmonic keys, so we can see them in two different colors, essentially. And that's what you have here, except those colors aren't really corresponding. They're just separating left hand from right hand. But we have the notes D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat. It also sounds very pentatonic. It's 5 tones, which we learned in one of our previous videos. But that same D flat and E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat can be seen as C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. I'm putting it in G flat because the particular ostinato that I'm going to play underneath of you, I'm thinking of in G flat major. So I'm listing these keys here, hopefully to help assist you. They're the same keys, left hand and right hand, and you'll notice that there are many, many, many possibilities. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sets of them on the keyboard. So here's what's going to happen. You just need to dive in. You need to forget about fear. Fear is the number one impediment to improvisation. Even the best improvisers are going to sound terrible at certain moments. So there's no reason that we shouldn't do it. The thing is, if we don't do it, we never get better at it. So it's one of those things that you just have to try, and you have to realize that sometimes it's not always going to sound great, but sometimes it's going to sound amazing. And the key to all of this is that in the midst of improvisation, you discover your own musical language. This is like a fingerprint, and this is what makes you different from the person next to you, and them different from the person next to them. It's very important that you stay aware while you're improvising so that you can make a note of these things that you like or the reactions that you might have to certain things. So I'm going to ask you to think about 5 simple things for this improvisation. This is by no means a comprehensive improvisation lesson. What we're going to do is take steps and steps along the road, expanding our comfort levels with improvisation, but we're going to think about basic concepts along the way. And I have 5 for this particular improvisation. 1, right hand or left hand, or maybe both. Do you need to use both? No, you don't have to use both. So if you're finding it overwhelming during the improvisation, just use one. You can feel free to play this an octave higher, maybe 2 octaves higher, maybe 3 octaves higher. And the same thing here. Perhaps you want to play this an octave lower. I wouldn't go maybe much lower than that, or it loses some sense of clarity. But feel free to walk around the keyboard more and use different hands. Use both hands at times. The second thing is that silence is not bad. We get so afraid that we need to fill our time, but we don't. Sometimes I'm going to play plenty of pretty stuff underneath of you, so you don't need to worry about that. I can cover gaps in. What you need to do is react. You need to see how you fit into this mix. The third thing is, if you like it, repeat it. This is an old adage for improvisation, but you can never not repeat something that sounds great. We always need to give ourselves a little bit more time to enjoy it. So be sure to repeat a motive. Perhaps it's a passage, perhaps it's a chord, perhaps it's silence, and that needs to be repeated at a given interval later on. The next thing that I want you to think about is, where are you and where am I? In other words, don't tread on my notes. I'm going to move around a little bit on the registers of the keyboard, so I may be higher at certain points, I may be lower at certain points, and you need to react to that because essentially we're having a conversation. We're having a dialogue here. Even though we're not saying words, we're communicating by the way we're playing. So it's very important for you to react and to converse with me so that we make a good conversation. Now, the last thing I want you to think about is something called affect. And the most important, I think, judgment for affect is to think of an emotion or a picture or a scene that a given musical excerpt is evoking. So in this particular instance, I'm going to give you an ostinato, which is 4 chords, essentially. And I'm going to repeat this ostinato 16 times, and it'll give you a chance, groups of 4, obviously, 4 groups of 4, and it'll give you a chance to sink in a little bit to this improvisation. But I want you to think about what it evokes. For you, is there a scene that gets created? Is there an emotion that needs to be expressed? And how can that be expressed musically? Because if you have an idea in mind, you're going to be more inclined to actually bring that idea to life. First few times through, the great thing about this video is that you can rewind and you can replay and you can restart. So the first time through, just play black notes. Get used to it. Get used to what is happening. Then your memory will kick in. Go back and do it again. Is it still improvisation? Yes, it's still improvisation because you're going to be doing things that are different. There's no way you're going to remember everything verbatim. So try new things the second time around. And now this becomes a cumulative process so that by maybe the 4th or 5th time, you're enjoying it and you're feeling less intimidated. By feeling less intimidated, less fearful, you are going to be more open to those ideas.